Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So you may remember this fog light from one of my previous videos where I fit it on my spare bumper. Now these have been sitting since then. I haven't had a chance to work on them. It's just, been sitting essentially. I was debating on whether I should put these fog lights onto my painted bumper or if I should continue doing the body work on my spare bumper and then put the spare bumper onto my car instead. Now, I think I've decided to just cut up the painted bumper because I don't want to go through all the hassle of actually doing the body work and then painting again. It's a little bit much work to fix up that bumper. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have to refinish these fog lights first because they've seen better days. They're a little dirty. The glass itself needs a good polish. This thing that holds, I guess this bracket or this surround piece that holds the glass in place, this thing is quite rusty, so we need to sand all this down, clean off all the rust, and then we can paint it. Now, my custom brackets as well, these were for a sedan, the fog lights. Now, I built these custom brackets so that it fits in the hatchback bumper, so these also need some paint. So essentially today, we're just going to be refinishing these fog lights. So let's get to work. So here's a close-up of the fog lights. As you can see, they're quite rusty. So we're going to remove this bracket piece first, and then we're going to refinish it, and then we could clean up the fog light itself. I think the glass, there's not much you can do with it aside from cleaning it up and giving it a nice polish. And being careful not to heat it too much because it is glass, otherwise it's going to crack. But we do need to refinish this surround piece because they're quite rusty. Alright, so to start off removing these fog lights, at least the surround piece, you can see that these are just held on by metal being crimped on there. So we're just going to get some pliers and we're going to bend these out, the tabs out, so that we could pop this piece off. That way we could sand it all right down, the glass is nicely exposed, and we could just nicely buff it with the bracket off. So we're going to do that for both the right side and the left side. So we need some small pliers to actually be able to get in there, or even a screwdriver. Being careful not to break it and all, since these are super old and all. So there is a nice layer of butyl rubber on the bottom here that's sealing the light. So we should be okay there. Whatever that was just stuck on here is just leftover sealant. So we could just scrape that off. Like that. It's not something we need. And the bracket, as you can see, is quite rusty. So we just got to remember how it goes. So we're going to do one side at a time. That way we remember how the bracket gets fitted on. The tabs are a little bit different. But yeah, so we can work on just scrubbing this thing down with some sandpaper. And then we're going to go through and wire brush this thing as well. Look at all that pieces of rust. So we'll set this aside. We'll need to definitely clean all this up. Probably a toothbrush and some water. And then we could polish it. As you can see, the old rust is all on the glass. There's not much we can do about the stains here. I'm going to try a clay bar and clay bar all this, the glass first. And that would probably help get some of this rust that's embedded in there. Got some old clay here. We're going to use the soapy water again. Clay bar is taking off some of that stuff. There's some red paint here. bar took that off. But we should definitely keep scrubbing it now. Well, yeah, the clay bar's taking the rust off of the glass, that's for sure. All right, there you go. The surround is all rust free now. I cleaned all that off of the glass, but we still have to handle this little bits. It'll be covered anyways, but it kind of bothers me. So I'm gonna try some rust cleaner like CLR to see if it could scrub some of this stuff off. All right, so I'm gonna remove the bracket off of this thing. It's guided by this pin here anyway, or not this spot. So the bracket always goes back into one place. I will leave the boot on so that I can clean everything else and scrub it all nice and clean. I think it's just a 10mm bolt on each side. Just like that, comes off. We'll give this a good clean as well. But as you can see, it's quite muddy on the back here. So we're gonna get some dish soap and just scrub the whole back out. All right, so I do have to open up the back here because I got some water inside of it. Mostly because of this tube here. I just released some, like when I was rinsing it, the water got inside. So it is what it is. I'll just blow it out with some compressed air later. But as far as these rust spots, I have no idea how to remove it. Let's try some steel wool and rust remover. Oh yeah, steel wool works. That's scrubbing that right off. All right, that cleaned them much better. It's a little bit orange still, but that's as good as it is gonna get. Let's do another quick rinse. All right, so this fog light's all nice and cleaned up. These are like the permanent stains, of course, but overall it's nice and clean now. I will have to open up the back so that I can air out all the water out there inside. I'll probably blow some compressed air in there. But for now, this is all clean. I just have to clean the other brackets and stuff and get it ready. All right, now we're gonna polish this. I'm gonna be using this Pro Speed compound, the professional one, Maguire's 100. Really, we should be using a glass polish, but I don't have a glass polish. So this will be a essentially the same thing. We're gonna be buffing it with a drill and a synthetic wool pad. There wasn't any scratches on there to really buff out anyways. It was more just to brighten it up a little bit, clean up the glass, make it a little bit more smooth with the polish. So it is much more smooth now. I'm going to apply a sealant on it now just to get it nice and sealed so that it's kind of like slick when water hits it. Just rub that sealant in. And we'll just let it sit, and then we'll wipe it off later. Yeah, these brackets probably would be better if we paint these as well. So we'll have to scuff it up, sand down all the rust, and then we'll give it a nice coat of paint. Now this bracket is gonna be quite nasty to clean. So I'm just gonna use a purple sanding pad, Scotch-Brite pad, and just scrub it. All right, guys, so I have mechanically removed as much of the rust on here as I could. As you can see, it's still pitted, but a lot of the rust is removed. The only way to really restore this is to get a new bracket, but we know it's not going to be easy to do that. So I'm going to put some chemical rust remover on here. After that, we're going to paint the whole thing with actually POR 15 so that we can seal it in. And then after that, I'm going to scuff up the POR 15 and then we'll paint a coat of, I guess, satin black rust paint on here so that it kind of gives it a nice smooth look. But for these pitted areas, I'm just going to sand it down as smooth as I can with some sandpaper. And then we're going to go from there. All right, so I applied all the chemical rust remover on here. The instruction says to wait for it to dry, so we're going to wait for it to dry on there and then rinse it off, and then it should be ready for painting. All right, so that rust remover gel actually works really good. Like, as you can see, all this is all flaked up rust from the gel, just eating away at it. So you can see if you scrape at it, this stuff comes off. So I'm supposed to wash this off now, rinse it off, and then it should be ready for actually paint, apparently. Gives it a nice coating. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off as much of the rust remover gel as possible, and then see if I could do another application to get rid of all the rest. Because as you can see, you just wipe it, it comes right off. Like, all this stuff flakes right off. All right, here's my etch prime bracket, one of them at least. I used my Rust-Oleum etch primer on this. I just wanted to finish up the bottle. I did drip it a little bit because the bottle was just spitting because it's just so little left. But I just wanted to use up whatever was remaining in that bottle. All right, so I painted these yesterday, as you can see. These are already cured. I think it needs another coat. I might just spray it over it because it's a little bit rough here. And I think some of it peeled up. Let's see here, where? No, this one looks okay. But this one here, it looks like it's stuck onto the box a little bit. And these corners are revealing the primer. So this one might need another coat. So maybe I'll just spray another coat on top of it when I do the actual bracket. And here's the bracket. As you can see, this area here, can't really get rid of the rust, but that's fine. For the most part, it's okay. I don't think I'm going to paint it with POR 15 because it's going to make it a little bit too thick. So I'm going to spray it with etch primer, and then we're going to go ahead and just paint it the same black as everything else. And then the bracket should be done after that. Alright, so the bracket is all painted now, as you can see. It's just waiting for it to dry, just like the rest of the other pieces. So it's going to take probably a couple days for it to actually cure and harden fully. So I'm just going to not touch it for a couple days. This is going to take a while because I have to do both fog lights. And this bracket is also all painted, just waiting for it to cure. Alright guys, so all the brackets and everything are dry now. This feels pretty solid to the touch. The paint is all good and cured now. So these are actually good to reinstall and put it back onto the fog light. But one of the things is, this fog light bracket, I actually got impatient and I put it on right away while the paint was still kind of sticky and trying to cure. It felt dry to the touch, but I didn't leave it for a couple days for it to dry. Instead, I tried to put it on the same day. And the other thing I did was I actually dropped the fog light. Luckily, I didn't crack anything, but I did clean up the fog light nice and smooth. It's clear. But the bracket now has like areas where it's missing paint. And it's chipped here and there. And as you can see, if you go up close, you can see these specks here. That's all because I dropped it. It like hit the floor and everything while it was still curing. So this is unacceptable. So I'm going to take this bracket back apart and we're going to sand it down with 800 grit to get it all nice and smooth. And then we're going to paint it again. Unfortunately, I have to do stuff twice because I was impatient. So always let it cure fully before reassembling. Alright guys, so this one's completely refinished and cleaned up.
I'm just giving you guys a side-by-side comparison. So this is the one before refinishing, and you can see my brackets there. Still needs to be repainted and all that. And the refinished one. And we could look at the back as well. Looks really good, nice and new. And that one is basically ready to go in the car, but I have to refinish this one as well. So this was the before. Same kind of state. Look at it. It's pretty nasty and crummy. So I have to repeat the same process on this one as well. But this is a nice new fully painted one. And I've also polished up the glass. Can't really tell too much of a difference, but when you feel it, you can really feel the difference. But that's basically it for this video, guys. I have to repeat the same process that I did on this one, and then we're done with the fog lights, and then I just have to mount them on the bumper. Anyways, guys, I hope this video helps you guys out. If you haven't already, please comment, like, and subscribe, and share my videos. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.